It is Tuesday after the holiday Monday, and you never know what the hell's going on here. We were gone for since last Wednesday, awaiting. So we got a bunch of new sponsors to talk about, and of course, apparently some brand spanking new cameras that are not here. So you are listening to the podcast on iTunes, or you've gone down to rawmike.richards.com. Because you subscribe to the podcast, you're listening to us. But for those on YouTube, you're seeing, a black screen? That's what they got today? So you have no idea the things I'm doing with my hands right now. No one saw that. It's too bad. Good. We apologize for that. And I think, to be honest, yeah, it's a little disappointing, but... you got to do what you got to do, folks. And we're glad that for those who are listening on iTunes, or I guess if you're just putting this on the background, Dave, and Dave's having difficulties with his microphone because I guess someone whose nickname must have been Stinky was using his microphone this weekend. So his, what they call the windsock, the great big sponge-looking thing that we have on microphones, it reeks.
It's so gross, man. And I don't really care about these things most of the time, but when you're leaning into it, and, I don't got the smallest nose in the world, so I'm gonna pick up the scent. It reeks.
No.
It's like let's see here. You're traveling through Europe, and you go into some of those those Russian countries where maybe some of the male side of the equation bathe and shower once every couple of months, and it's summer, and it's a lot of sweat, a lot of heat.
You're saying so at times, or those that would drive a cab maybe. And
good one.
Not feel it necessary to be clean. Okay.
Yep. I think that's fair.
That's a bad hum. That's tough for Dave today. It's a flag already. What else can go on? Well, I'll tell you what. The great thing today is we get to talk to my good friend Dave Andreychuk. I have not had a chance since he's been inducted into the Hall of Fame. And look, he's just one of the all-around good guys. And from very humble beginnings. And you start talking about his background, where someone comes from. Well, his family, like a lot of hardworking families coming from Hamilton, Ontario, you're talking about those wartime homes, worked his guts out, ended up, plays for the Sabres, which was really that's almost like a hometown team when you're from Hamilton. That's how close it was. And then going to the Toronto Maple Leafs, and then the career, as you know, moves through the Devils, the Bruins, the Avalanche. And sometimes I kind of forget about some of those stays that he had with some of those teams. But, of course, Tampa Bay with finally a Stanley Cup in a controversial win over the Calgary Flames. They'll still say that that goal was in Game 6 and should have won a Stanley Cup. And that seemed like part of that NHL where a team that just gets into the playoffs makes a crazy run. And it seemed like we had that for about 2 or 3 or 4 years. That's what happened, including that Edmonton run that you saw that went all the way where they ended up eventually losing to Carolina. I don't know if you see that's going to happen anymore, Dave. I don't know if you get that anymore. I guess it's semi-possible to do in the NHL. Let's just say in the NBA, never going to happen.
Never going to happen.
Yeah.
More legit on the NHL side, less on the NBA side. But even more and more on the NHL side, you're not going to see the miracle Cinderella story where everybody falls in love with the 8th place team that makes its way through the conference. I guess we kind of saw it in a sense with Nashville Predators, but are they a true 8? Did somebody sit there and go, man, I'm so surprised. They got an all-world goaltender, maybe one of the best defenses in hockey, and up front just getting some timely scoring from a couple key guys, even guys that weren't in the lineup consistently. It's like, that's not overly surprising. It's not the team that is kind of, penciled together and you go, wow, this is the little team that could. Nashville was a pretty damn good team.
I remember the 1 year the LA Kings were an 8th seed.
Correct, yes.
Right, so they get in there, and I think it was probably like San Jose or someone who was once again the sexy pick to win it all. Then they got to play LA, but that's life in the Western Conference. Now I happen to think now when you look at the East, what is being built, there's a couple of questions that obviously are going to be thrown out there. Patrick Marleau, of course, the news over the weekend, and since we've been on the air, becoming a Maple Leaf, which is It's pretty big. I think, there was a time where the only thing that happened for the Leafs was everybody was in more or less a kind of category of a Patrick Marleau. I'm not saying you have to say he's on the other side of his career. I mean, he spent, 19 years
Yep.
With San Jose? But he still has enough that is important, that the stage and the evolution of where the Leafs are right now, that for a year, if I get 2 years of significance, not only in play and production, but what they're going to learn from a Patrick Marleau playing, at the most elite levels of the NHL for literally the last decade, then that's money well spent. Then that's an excellent pickup. And I don't see it as one of these guys that in the day where the Maple Leafs only got guys who had played 19 and 20 years, and even if they had a couple years left, everybody was in the same category. This is different.
I think it's different. I think Mike Babcock kind of talked about finding the fountain of youth, and maybe Marleau playing with an Auston Matthews can kind of rejuvenate again.
But that's crazy, Dave, when you think about it.
I think it would be a brilliant move if Marlowe's with Matthews and Marleau, Matthews, Nylander, something like that. That's a pretty damn good line. And you know what? A veteran entering his 20th NHL season to have those two kids with him, I think it'd be great from the leadership side that you mentioned and also from the production side. The guy still has wheels. The guy still has hands. And sure, he's a little bit slower because he's 38 years old. Funny stat, Mike. He's entering his 20th season. He was drafted by the Sharks 3 months before Auston Matthews was born. Like just to comprehend that's hilarious.
Nuts.
But it's true, and I can't wait. I'm not even a Maple Leaf fan, and I'm excited just to see the style of hockey the Maple Leafs will bring this season. Defense, however, I think the Ron Hainsey signing was horrendously bad. I think it's actually a step back, to tell the honest truth. Matt Hunwick goes to Pittsburgh, and they replace him with the worst defenseman. Yeah. I don't understand that for the life of me, and to give him that kind of money for that slow move. If you thought Hal Gill was slow, and everybody remembers Hal Gill, well, welcome to the world of Ron Hainsey, who probably was lucky to be part of an NHL team last year.
Well, people were shocked, and the thing that's, speaking of shocking, is that almost every single move since day one of the Shanahan, rebuild of the Toronto Maple Leafs and Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, I have agreed and have made sense of every single thing that they have done. That's the only one that I looked at and went, that's odd.
Don't get it.
Yeah, that one doesn't seem to fit.
Yeah.
Now, maybe there's something that see that we don't. That's always a possibility. But on paper, I think Hunwick going to Pittsburgh, if you're a Penguin fan, you're like, huh, nice.
Yeah, 6 defensemen.
Yeah.
Like let's mark it for what it's worth. Matt Hunwick isn't going there to pair up with Chris Letang and solve the power play.
No.
I mean, that's just not why you bring a guy in like that. But will he solidify a back end? Yeah, absolutely. I'm okay with that. I'm not a Matt Hunwick guy, but Matt Hunwick will be defensively stable in his own zone. He's not going to do anything too stupid on the offensive side or defensive side, and he's going to give you quality 16, 17 minutes a game.
What is Montreal doing?
I don't know. I mean, every single.
If you're a Leaf fan, you're going, nice, good move, like that move, because I'm kind of not getting it right now.
I have a couple of really good friends that are Montreal Canadiens fans, and when they hear of Peter Holland and Byron Froese being signed, it's like, really? I mean, are they scavenging through the Maple Leafs minor league roster, seeing who's been cut? Terrible decisions. I don't. It's nice that you have the world's best goaltender, because he may have to stop 75 shots a night just to record an
score twice.
Point. Yes.
And score twice.
Yes.
Like who's like so Subban is shown the door and Shea Weber comes in.
Yes.
And look, I've always liked Shea Weber. There's a lot of things about him, but maybe Shea Weber being there 5 to 6 to 7 years beforehand, maybe I would have liked a lot better. And then I look at the fact that if he's not their puck moving defenseman, who is? And in this day and age, we used to talk about the 8-player profile. I think it was the 8-player that Pierre used to talk about all the time. The one thing that you needed was basically like a point guard. The guy that you give it to because as bad as what's happening in front of them, at least the puck comes out of your zone. So at least you go that transition game from defense to offense. You've got a guy who really is your quarterback, but he is very skilled at getting that puck out of your zone. Because if you don't in this league, it's blood in the water. It literally is like throwing food into the shark tank, because quite honestly, the NHL teams are so good, so sophisticated, and so aggressive on defense that you're going to have a really, what are you going to do, shoot it off the glass every single game? Because that's when it's going to start looking like. And for all the money that you're going to give to Carey Price, and trust me, he's the best player they got. He's one of the best players in the world, even by position. I'll still say he's one of the best players in the world. But if you can't get it out, he is going to have, wow, I couldn't even imagine. I mean, if I'm him, in that Gatorade bottle, might want to be slipping some vodka in there. Maybe it's sponsored by Jack Daniels. He's like, wow, you guys, fuck your shit. Glug, glug, glug. Guess I'll stop some more shots, because that thing is going to be, I think it could be a nightmare for him.
Yeah. When I look at this Canadiens roster, I don't see top 8 in the Eastern Conference anymore. And before, I was sitting there flirting with division title, because I look at Tampa Bay drastically improving this team. I think Tampa Bay and Toronto, I can't believe I'm actually saying this, Tampa Bay and Toronto are the 2 best teams in the Atlantic Division. And I don't know who's number 3.
Because I'm hard pressed to think what Washington's going to do this year. Like, what are the Capitals going to do after what they just went through? So Alzner now is a Canadian.
Is a Canadian, which wasn't the worst signing in the world for the Montreal Canadiens. But the thing is,
but he's not a puck mover either.
No, you sign him to a 5-year deal too, and it's like, oh man, I don't know. And I'm not going to say injury prone, but he's a little injury prone as well. But a 5-year deal, 5-year commitment.
Do you think when they're at the negotiating table and there's oh, here we go. Speaking of negotiations, we've been able to negotiate some time here with Dave Andreychuk, which we appreciate. And as we go to the magic of Skype, we say hello to our good friend and now soon-to-be Hall of Famer, Dave Andreychuk. Davey, thanks so much for joining me on RawMikeRichards.com.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning. Yeah, thank you for having me on. It's been quite a few days for me. It's been very humbling with all the support that I've got, but it's been awesome to say the least.
Well, I would think so. And Dave, I mean, I think the last time we talked, I was talking about the fact that you have an arena, a building named after you. Now you're a Hall of Famer. So that means I think even when you go to family parties, I think they got to pay something, Dave. I think it's fair that they got to. You go back to the Hammer, someone's got to pay some money. It's only fair.
I'll have to check that out at my family picnic I'm going back to next week. We'll see if they bite on that. I don't think so very much.
Well, you know, Dave, it's great to see the good guys do well, which you've always been, and I think when you look at humble beginnings, like a lot of people are in Hamilton, where you grew up, how you grew up. It's nice to see that hard work pays off, and I think for yourself, Dave. I mean, you lift that cup with Tampa Bay, and that's a lifetime and a realization of a lot of sacrifice. But I have to think that most players at that point, including yourself, you're not really thinking about the Hall of Fame.
Oh no doubt. I don't think anybody really plays, in this league, and that you're trying to get into the Hall of Fame. I think you're trying to make your team win. I think you're trying to win cups. You're trying to be a good teammate. So, no doubt, that's kind of the farthest thing from your mind. So, I've had a lot of good things happen to me in the last little while here, and a lot of it's through patience. A little bit of hard work, but it's. It's kind of just like the cup, and it took me a long time to get that, over 20 years. I waited a little bit here for the Hall of Fame, and it's just made it even sweeter.
You know what, Dave, when you talk about waiting for the Hall of Fame, I have to ask you, now that you actually are a Hall of Famer, when it comes up for the announcement every year, do you get a little anxious at that time in previous years, like saying, is this going to be my time? Because you almost have those inner conversations with yourself where it's like, I think I'm good enough to be there. I think I should be there. Or maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should. And then it doesn't happen. Can you tell us what kind of goes through your mind when they're announcing or about to announce these guys that are receiving these phone calls?
Well, I definitely know when the dates are. There's no doubt in my mind. I know when the dates are. I would say in the last 3 or 4 years, it's really been business as usual for me for that day. And if it happens, it happens. Prior to that, there were some anxious days that I thought maybe this was my time. There was lots of phone calls from friends and family. Hey, did you get the call? And I didn't get the call. So a little bit of disappointment. I think my first few years, I really didn't expect to get in, a first ballot or second or third ballot. So, I mean, what a day it was. You know when that day is. You hoping you get that call, and then when you do get it, it was awesome. It really was. It was just out of the blue. Didn't know when the call would come. It came at 2:00, an hour before the announcement, and I really wasn't expecting it at all.
Oh, that's fantastic. And when we talk to players in the past about that phone call, if you and I are talking about this in like 20 years, 25 years down the line, is there something you'll remember significantly about the call you got from Lanny McDonald?
Well, I did. I was in the office for an 8:30 meeting. I had 2 meetings that morning, and then I was on my way to pick up my wife. And like I said, it was business as usual. I wasn't sitting by the phone. I wasn't, kind of waiting for this call. So driving down the road, I saw a 416 number. My heart started to race. I'm thinking to myself, at 2:00, who could be calling me now? Because it can't be, it can't be the media calling me and asking me, what I thought about not getting in. So I pulled over to the side of the road, and sure enough, it was Lanny McDonald. To get to know Lanny a little bit at the Centennial for the Toronto Maple Leafs last year, we had some conversations. Watching him as a kid, and to get that call from him was pretty cool.
We're in conversation with Dave Andreychuk here on rawmike.richards.com, and you look at a life that, I said, is filled full of sacrifice. It's in the professional ranks. You go from team to team. You have at times a young family. There's a lot of things that go on, but it's a professional. Is there a defining moment where you look back on it now and go, okay, the most significant part of my career happened here? Is there that time for you where you look at a defining line for you where it changed for you as a player because of, A, maybe it was the coach, B, the guys you played with? Do you think there was a moment like that for you that crystallizes why you became the player you became?
Well, I think there's a lot of factors, really. I mean, I don't think you can specifically say it's one. I mean, when you start your career as a 18 or 19-year-old kid, you got to be put in the right direction. You got to have good leadership around you. I owe a lot to Scotty Bowman to start that process. I play with some veteran guys that, I learned a lot from. And then I had great coaches over the years. I really did. I got very lucky with, guys like Pat Burns, obviously John Tortorella down here in Tampa, Jacques Lemaire, who I had in New Jersey. I think he had a huge impact on, the second half of my career, really, on positioning, where I had to stand. He knew the game very well, obviously, and I think that helped me as my second half of my career. So I don't know if there's one defining moment. I think there's a lot of factors in why I stayed in the league as long as I did and why I put up the numbers that I did.
So, Dave, would you say then for young guys listening here today, the lesson is what? That you can always learn more, that you were always learning?
Oh, no doubt. Learning and listening, for sure. 100%. It also comes down, you got to enjoy the game. You got to enjoy going down to the rink every day. You got to enjoy the practice. You got to enjoy, training to get ready. It's not all about goals. It's not all about wins and goals. I think there's a lot more to it. And I think some of the great players in this league, their passion for the game, shines through above everything else. So, and I hope I have that. I hope a lot of the players that have played with me understand that, and I'm sure they do. That they, for a 40-year-old guy still playing in the NHL, playing with 19-year-old kids, you got to have some kind of passion.
Yeah, you certainly.
And I believe that those guys, they knew that.
Dave, 640 goals during your NHL season, over 1,300 points. Last week, we got a chance to talk to John Van Beesbroek, and we mentioned your name at the announcement, and he had some high praise for you, and he talked about how good you were in front of the net with your hands, and a lot of your goals were deflections and being at the right place at the right time, and also having that hand-eye coordination that was probably second to none in all of the NHL. How do you attribute that sort of skill, and when did you decide at what part of your NHL career that if I'm going to make a proper living, I'm going to have to go to the front of the net and make things happen, and you certainly did throughout your career.
Well, yeah, no, John and I got to know each other a little bit here in Florida. He was inducted into the Florida Sports Hall of Fame. I presented the award to him, so I got to chat with him a little bit. Really, really nice guy, to hear his story. And, you know, I think a lot of goaltenders will tell you that you know, I wanted to stay in front of the net. I had to make my living there. I think it starts early in your career. I think it started in junior for me, where you're realizing what you can do. I was never gonna skate around anybody. I was never gonna play anybody one-on-one, but I had to do the things that I needed to do in front of the net. So some of it's God gifted, you know, in the eye-hand coordination. Some of it you work on after practice. But I was fortunate to be in the right spot, play with some really good players that got the puck to me.
Well, as a goalie, I would have hated seeing you come on the ice. You know, because I think if you're playing, oh, great, here comes Manute Bol again. So now I don't see anything. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, it just, you know, you talk about, you know, God's gifts. I mean, where's the height come from? What side of the family is this on? Or are they all big people?
The Anderchuk side is big. My mother's got some tall guys. You know, for me, you know, I think, you know, you look at what Scotty Bowman drafting me as a young kid and knowing that I was still going to grow, still going to develop. I don't think I ever was in the 190s. I think I went directly from the 180s to the 210s in one summer, yeah. You know, growing that way. So I had to use my size to my advantage, you know, keep the guy on my back. And, you know, first and foremost, you got to go to the front of the net and know that you got to pay the price. And I think that most guys that played against me will know that no matter what they did, I was still going to come back and take a little bit more and hopefully get a goal because of it.
Well, I don't think you get as far as you do, Dave, without having that kind of work ethic and, you know, the ability to take, you know, some of the garbage that's out there. But you know what? As much as people joke about Hamilton and stuff like that, that is kind of the real character of what that city's always been. It's been blue collar. If you're a Ticat fan, then you prided yourself on the fact that that team would go out and beat the hell. You know, they'll take their shots, but they'll give them two. It's just sort of the nature of how those neighborhoods and communities were. And I think that aside from everyone that's going to be happy, I would think the city of Hamilton, those that appreciate that kind of thing, I would think the city itself must be very proud of you, Dave.
Agreed. You know, I am proud to be from Hamilton. I think, you know, coming from two steel workers, you know, that work ethic was installed not only in me, you know, my two sisters too. So, you know, I watched my dad go to work every day, and I think that, you know, that's something that starts in the family too. And when I look back on it, you know, my early days playing hockey, there was no pressure. Just go out and have fun. You know, you gotta love the game, and I think that's something that, you know, my dad was awesome at. Never once did he criticize my game. Never once did he hear him yelling from the stands. My mother did at the time, not him. And it was, but other than that, you know, I mean, it was fun. It was fun playing in Hamilton. You know, obviously I left to go to play junior in Oshawa, and I wasn't there very long. But you know, the Hamilton Huskies and what they've done, and they're back in existence. I'm so proud of it that I'm a graduate from there, and things worked out very well for me.
Dave, I also think you bring up an interesting point, which is, and I sometimes wonder with the amount of hockey our young guys play. You know, we're talking almost year-round now. We're talking about a lot of pressure on a lot of kids, very young, a lot of traveling. And I just wonder, do you think they're having as much fun as you did or we did at that age group playing different sports? I always get concerned that maybe there might be a burnout factor with our kids these days.
Totally agree. Totally 100% agree. About 4 or 5 years ago, I did a video for Sport Canada, and really it was about being, you know, a two-sport athlete and giving up the game for the summer. I obviously played lacrosse. And, you know, really, I mean, the only time I skated in the summer was I went down to Double Rinks, and it was a shinny game. There was nothing organized, and I played lacrosse. And a lot of our kids today, I don't necessarily believe it's them. I think it's the administrators that are, you know, going from, you know, your regular hockey to 3-on-3 hockey to a 4-on-4 to camps. And I see it down here in Florida with my daughters in volleyball. It's the same thing. But it's, it's something that we got to change, because I think a lot of our kids are not enjoying the game as they get into their teens, and it becomes work for them when it's not fun. So for me, skates were off, lacrosse stick in my hand, and did that all summer, and then was excited to be back to play hockey.
Exactly. I agree 100%. By the way, those girls playing volleyball now, so I think back when we were down with you're playing with the Leafs, and we're at Disney World, and the little ones were in the toddlers pool. I'm almost afraid to ask, how old are the girls now?
Yeah. Well, my oldest is 24, 22, and I also have an 18-year-old. I had two girls. Both my older daughters played volleyball in college. Both 6-footers that had kind of my height, a little bit of athleticism, and it was fun. But I know what it's like. I mean, it's hard. People can not really understand. It's hard to relate that to hockey, but it's the same thing. I mean, we were traveling all over the country, and it was a year-round job. Now, for their sake, they did go to college, and that sport helped them get a degree, which is the best thing. But again, I wish kids would just take some time off. I wish administrators would let the kids go for a month or so to enjoy some family time and then get back at it.
Well, that's great to hear. I'm so happy for you, Dave. Happy for your family, and just to let you know, this is a relatively new venture for us. So we're a couple of months in, and we're starting to make arrangements where we're going to have remotes. So don't be surprised if you get another 416 number, not as good as Lanny's, but probably from Mike Richards wondering, I want to come down for a week and do some stuff down in the Tampa area. I'd love to be a part of it, see the team, talk to the guys, and have some fun. So don't be surprised when that phone call comes, Dave.
Hey, you're more than welcome to come down here for sure. I mean, a little hot right now, baby, but come November, December, January, it's awesome. So you're more than welcome to come on down.
You're a good friend, and once again, congratulations. I think, as I said, on behalf of all of us who've watched your career, and those in Hamilton who have watched you since you were a kid, I think it's just a fantastic news. And once again, Dave, congratulations, and thanks so much for joining us here today.
You got it, Mike. No problem. Anytime at all.
That is Dave Andreychuk, now the Hall of Famer, Dave
Wicked.
Andreychuk, which is, look, I mean, just listen to what he had to say. Two steelworkers, both parents. They're getting up at some pretty tough hours. They're getting up in some conditions that probably wouldn't be the most fun. That was not easy work, whether it was DeFasco or Stelco or whichever of the two that they would have worked at. You come from, probably in this case, I believe, a Ukrainian family, of which there is a ton of in Hamilton, and they all worked real hard to make sure that their children got a chance to go to university, got a chance to do the things that their parents never did. But that's the sacrifice they made. He is a product of that. But you can also tell those kinds of sensibilities existed in him as a teammate, as a human being. And sometimes, hey, they're not all Hall of Famers when it comes to personalities and people in any sport that we talk about. But when I look at a Dave Andreychuk and probably what he meant in the dressing room, off the ice, what he was as a family guy, and now as a business person for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Well,
brilliant.
It's just a great story, Dave.
Yeah.
That made me feel real good today. Really good.
It really was. And he was, as always, Dave Andreychuk, never disappointed on the ice or off the ice now that he's retired and so forth. Never really got into it much about it, but I know it will probably come up in November when he's here in Toronto to talk about, some of the teammates that he's had. And you look at, obviously 640 goals is very, very significant, amazing number for big number 25, playing with guys like Vinny Lecavalier, Brad Richards, Doug Gilmour. Nobody will ever forget that.
Yep.
Pat LaFontaine with the Buffalo Sabres. And, of course, number 10, Dale Hawerchuk.
That is incredible how you got back to that. I was waiting for it because of that.
Here it comes.
It's a path.
He was a Sabre.
You're going through the woods. You're going over the waterfalls. I go, it's got to be coming somewhere, and there it was. About 35 minutes into the show, we finally get to a Dale Hawerchuk reference. You're listening to RonMikeRichards.com today, not viewing, which is weird for all of us. I got to be honest, it's so strange. But tomorrow we'll have that fixed, And then eventually keeps talking about this good news coming. I just don't want to do it with a black screen. I think really takes away from the huge announcements that are coming.
You think so? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like,
Is that-
as you can see behind me, what's he saying? Oh, and here comes Cindy Crawford naked. Oh, my God. And the Olsen twins. Are they old enough now? Yeah, here they are. This is unbelievable what's happening on the show today. So hopefully we will get that done. Speaking of getting things done, it is Kyle Lowry getting his deal done, an average of, what, $33 million a season. It is the reward that he gets for being an outstanding player, not only with the organization, but, just kind of, you feel like it's a bit of the Lifetime Achievement Award. Here's the problem. That's a lot of money for that period of time for a guy that you hope can play. Tucker is now gone. And if I'm looking at this roster compared to last year at this very moment, are they better or are they worse? And if you don't even want to use the word worse, because they are still a strong team, they could still win 50-some-odd games, probably in what is perceived to be a weak or weaker Eastern Conference, then are they weaker or stronger? Did they get better in the offseason? Some teams did. And we still don't know. Like, I don't know if Gordon Hayward, I don't know if he's going to go to Boston and team up, with his college coach, Brad Stevens. Something tells me he probably ends up staying in Utah. I got a feeling. But there are teams who did get a lot better, and some of it might be just due to players getting healthier. How about the Philadelphia 76ers? Look, we have no idea what some of these guys are going to be like. Simmons has never even played a game yet. You got Embiid, if he's healthy. J.J. Redick just went over. They have, it seems like, literally the last 8 years of top players from collegiate basketball. So there's Boston. You know what Washington could be like. Orlando's probably going to be better. Milwaukee's going to be better. And then guess what? Oh, yeah, Cleveland and LeBron James.
Oh, yeah, them.
I
mean, the only team that's really taken a backseat are the Pacers. The Pacers will be a lottery team.
Yeah. Well, I guess if it's gonna be that way, then you know how this works. Tank to tank.
Basically. And I know we're not going to really get into it right now, but man, you trade away your best asset in Paul George, and you trade him to the Thunder in spite of the better package that you were to receive from the Celtics, just because you wanted to screw them. I understand the screwing part because I subscribe to that.
Yeah, I know that is your very very strong Slovenian philosophy.
But
if they get you once, they're going to get you right back. Those Slovenians.
But the reality of it, and the bigger picture is, you have to eat a little bit of pride there and accept the 3 first-round picks and the 2 starters, and you sit there and you go, okay, well, Paul George wasn't going to play here anyway. We understand he kind of screwed us overall at first by publicly saying, this is my last year in India.
Not playing.
Yeah,
not playing
and I'm not, but
and you're right, Dave. Like, to me, I look sometimes emotionally how that fits in. So here you are with this girl, you've been with her for a while, and you say to her, just so you know, this is the last year of this. What do you mean? No, I'm not breaking up like today.
No, but this,
but we are going to break up.
The clock is now counting down.
Have you ever heard a girl say, "You're just going to break up with me"? Yeah, like you're dating Adam Sandler. But I'm just saying, and you always say the same thing. No. Yes, you are. I think in every circumstance where someone says, "Are you going to break up? You breaking off with me?" No, I'm not breaking off with you. Yes, I am. Well, not now, but it's coming. It's just, and here's the weirdness of this. So number one, so you look at him going to, that is Paul George. So he's with Russell Westbrook, who was a freak last year. And so now you kind of hope that for them that works out. But what does that mean, working out? You're making a run for that 1 year, because guess what? All anybody's talking about is the Lakers. They're like storylines. And I'm starting to see that the NBA might be watching a lot of the history of the WWF and the WWE. And what professional wrestling has taught me, Dave, is that is we're all fighting each other, and I got a mask on, and you're eating fresh fruit or whatever
that's not bad.
whatever your thing is.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Russell's got a cane, and he's got a thing going on.
I could see that.
And we're all fighting each other. But at some point, the WWE will say, or the WWF said, you know what would be great is those three guys. He ends up being the manager, and we'll make them the tag team. And they'll go on the same team. And you kind of see it coming. And then they become the great undefeated team. It's a storyline. We know what it is. They put it together, and you're like, man, I used to like it better when they fought each other. No. But what about if we put them together? There's your draw. Well, the NBA's doing the same thing. All of a sudden, we see what's been built, and they're kind of the young, if you want to call them young, but the good guys with Golden State. And they're going to be around for a while. But then McMahon comes in and says, we got to get LA going again. And so Paul George goes, I'll go to Oklahoma City, but guess where I'm going to end up in a year? And LeBron says, I'll try to win another championship with this Cleveland where I'm from, and it's a great home story. But I'm going to end up in LA too. Well, and Lonzo Ball's there.
Oh, yeah.
And all of a sudden, it's the Lake Show, and we know it's going to happen already.
Yep.
We know what the tag team's going to be because it doesn't matter. LeBron's not staying. I don't see him staying. And you know already that Paul George is the guy who breaks off with all the girls. You're going out with who now? Mm-hmm. Paul George. He tells me he's taking me to the prom. Is it this year's prom? Because it won't be next year's prom because he's going to dump you. And that's what's happening. How do you feel if you're Oklahoma City? Because you know as professionals that this is kind of the lay of the land, which means there is a lot of pressure, Dave, for the Thunder. You got to make that run. Look who you got to run through. And let's not forget what the Minnesota Timberwolves have done in the offseason. So amongst all those other teams that you want to run through, Minnesota may not be a bubble team either. They might be a little better than that. They might cause some problems actually going into maybe a more than a first or second round team. You just don't know yet because it's the NBA. Are they good enough to beat Golden State? No. I don't think they're going to beat Golden State. I don't think anyone's going to beat Golden State.
Nope.
But they have built these little, again, it's like storylines. So if it's wrestling and we got to make a comparison, who are the Raptors? Because they're not winning the
no, they're like a mid card kind of guy that kind of
like they're not winning WrestleMania. They're not winning WrestleMania.
No. I'm surprised you're taking this into a wrestling angle.
Because it is now.
I am impressed.
Yeah, I think you like this. Of course you like this. But it's like no one hates them.
No.
And they're kind of the good guys, but are they a bit of a, I'm not saying a jobber because that's not very nice at all.
No. That's what the Pacers are. The Pacers are the jobbers of the NBA, and
because the Sixers have been, but I think they're becoming they're going to be like Ricky Steamboat or something.
Well, yeah, if you stink long enough, you're gonna turn into something decent, right? So, you know what's really funny? We should get old Rusty on his Patrick Marleau, Ron Hainsey, what the Leafs did, because he might be the biggest Leaf lover in this room right now. So pick up that mic and
okay, Leaf lover.
What jersey are you going to get there, Leaf lover? Are you getting a Marleau jersey or what?
This is kind of quiet.
No, you're good here.
No, good here.
No, you're good.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sounds
absolutely.
quiet to me. Well, I got about 3 jerseys last year, so I don't think I'm dipping into the jerseys again this year.
Why not? Make it a 4th.
I might.
Patrick Marleau could be your dad, by the way.
Yeah, probably. I mean,
he's not the youngest dad either. Like, well, now it's a little weird for him picking you up after school.
But I don't know. When I first heard about Marleau, it was kind of iffy on the $6 million because I was like, that's a lot to pay for a 37 turning 38-year-old in September.
Yep.
But the more I kind of read up that he still has his legs, he got 27 goals last year.
I need 2 years from the guy.
Yeah.
Bingo.
If I get 2 years from the guy,
2 years,
that's the bridge guy. As these other guys get a little older, as I said, they start to mature, like NHL mature. You start to mature in those that expect to win. See, that's the biggest difference, I think, in all this. So I need somebody in that dressing room and on the ice who goes, this is how you act when you win. He's that guy. Like, I think there's no question he's that guy. But the only way that works, and that's like that one conversation I had with Brooks Like. They kept talking about, he said, I hear what a great guy in the dressing room. What a great guy I am for all these young guys. but I don't want to be the mentor. I just don't want to be a great dressing room guy. I want to be significant on the ice. I thought that was the most honest thing I'd ever heard, because at the end of the day, as a professional, you can be the greatest guy in the world. Oh, that Russell Graham. He brings tuna sandwiches to the dressing room. He is fantastic. Yeah, but he stinks. He's a lightweight. He's 57 years old. You can't just be the character guy. You got to provide. And I think Patrick Marleau is that guy. He still has everything, and I need only a couple of years from it.
Yeah, so I like it now after kind of doing a little bit more research on it.
The Hainsey thing's weird.
Hainsey thing is weird. $3 million was a little much. I can kind of live with it for the fact that it's only 2 years and it's not gonna affect any of the well, other than you have to re-sign Nylander a year earlier than Matthews and Marner. But the main contracts I'm worried about are Matthews and Marner, and the Hainsey one won't affect that.
No.
So don't have a huge problem with it. And the other one, I loved the Dominic Moore signing. One year, $1 million.
And we were gonna, now I think he might be coming in the studio the week of the 20th.
Correct. And we might be going, I'm giving you a wink right now for anybody not, we might be going to Smash Fest. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Yeah, there's a lot of things we promise on this show.
True.
And so far we haven't delivered on any of them, but trust me, it's going to be big. You're going to love it. What do you love? Do you love Montero coming to the Blue Jays? Is this a guy that what is it? What is that move? What does it necessarily do for them?
Well, he was DFA'd by his National League club, which is kind of telling you something, sort of the same sort of idea of Jason Grilli. And
now, wasn't he the one that with Arrieta said, if the pitches didn't take 5 minutes to get there, maybe I could throw the odd guy out? Because I think there was one game where he stole 7 bases. He goes, but by the time I get the ball, they're there.
There was a really good meme on Twitter when that happened. I don't know if you remember that. I believe it was a Japanese ballerina throwing out the first pitch, and she threw it, and it hit the bottom of the pitching mound, and they said, "Oh, Montero's out trying to throw."
That's awesome.
Yeah, that
is awesome.
I got a pretty good laugh. And no, it's not racial content. I'm just saying you could sit there and say 50 Cent throw in the first pitch too, or whoever you want.
It's funny.
Let's just say they're not exactly getting a defensive catcher that is going to be accountable to anybody on first and second base, but he is going to provide a little bit of a pop. And more so of what they have behind Russell Martin right now, because what they have behind him is a young catcher, strong defensively, and can't hit a beach ball.
Well, Tanaka goes out there and kind of sifts through the first 4 or 5 innings. Like he looked really, really good.
As per usual, because that's kind of what he does.
Yeah. Then you had, quite honestly, so Stroman goes out there and then gets into some blister problems.
That was interesting, and then the blame afterwards.
Yeah, but then he's saying, well, you know what I mean. Everyone's getting these blisters now. Mm-hmm. What is he saying? What is he saying? What is he telling me? Well, that there are these balls that are being spread around. That
well, word around Major League Baseball is could the league itself, and this is all hypothetical because we don't have any evidence of this, but could it be that they're taking some shortcuts making baseballs? And if they are, they're affecting pitchers' fingers on the quality of the seam, where it's actually placed, and what is actually goes into the production of the baseball. Because if I hope this isn't a scenario where Major League Baseball goes, how do we save 10% on the hundreds of thousands of baseballs that are made every single year? Because
and it comes from one place, doesn't it?
Yes. Like you go to a baseball game, any given baseball game could use up to 50 balls for the one game. Now multiply that over every single team, 162 times in a year, plus playoffs, plus spring training. That's a pretty big budget for balls. Yeah. So if Major League Baseball, I understand from a financial side of it, and we don't have any evidence of it right now, but if they're sitting there going, how can we trim 10% or 5% or 6%, whatever it works out to, it's a significant cost savings. But if that cost savings affects what's happening with the actual pitchers and fingers and so forth, then I think we have an issue here. But this is all speculation. Marcus Stroman has kind of alluded to this, I think, is the safest way of saying
it's,
it.
It's,
but
it's Blistergate. Purely, once again, with balls. I mean,
Yep.
just the altering the balls.
yeah, so we'll see. But man, we're seeing more and more blisters in today's MLB than we have for a long time.
Well, that would be one issue. The other issue with the Blue Jays, and look, I see a lot of people. It's just so weird in this business sometimes. Guys going on saying, "Well, I told you in May," or the Blue Jays. Like, do you really think that the fact that the Blue Jays have run out of gas, have a mishmash of players, some who have seen better days, that they're getting to the All-Star break, and there's like 10 games back? I don't care what the wild card is. They're just not a team, I believe, that to be in contention at all. And they're like, see, I told you they'd be sellers. You're real Nostradamus on that one. How did I put it? I said, if this were a TV series, this is the last season. That's what I've said from day number one. And it's not any great prediction. You just look again. I talk about sometimes the evolution of an organization where you're at. And they're at the part where those that have played at a certain level can't anymore. Russell Martin's not being that. Even for Josh Donaldson, didn't look particularly great. Not that I think that he's finished, but there's guys out there, Tulo's out there. If it wasn't for Smoke, I wonder what the record would actually be.
Bingo. Justin Smoke starting in the American League first base, tremendous. And nobody would have thought that at the beginning of the year. Let's go back to the Blue Jay catching situation because you're going to love these stats. So as of this morning, there's been over 7,800 players that have had at least 100 at-bats that are non-pitchers. And Luke Maile, the backup catcher currently with the Blue Jays, ranks third last overall of all those players in batting average, on base percentage the worst, slugging percentage 11th worst, and this is why the Blue Jays have acquired a new backup catcher. It's pure, like what Luke Maile is doing behind the plate is historical in the bad sense that there hasn't been a guy that has manufactured worse numbers in decades. That's how bad this is.
When players think of themselves being referred to in a historical sense, they always hope it's going to be, really? So what are they saying I did? That you're the worst ever. That even if you got run over by a truck and lost an arm, that most guys would still do better than what you're doing right now. If their eyes were on fire, they would still hit better than you. That's what we're saying. Historically bad.
Yeah. Almost 8,000 player seasons by 100 players that are non-pitchers, and this guy has the worst ever on-base percentage. That's
Congratulations.
That's what he's hanging in.
Hello, you. You're the shittiest player we've ever seen.
Good defensive arm, though. Good defensive arm. I got to give him that.
Again, it's like a great guy in the dressing room. Okay, fine. That's we appreciate that. Now, with the All-Star game coming up, is Bellinger, is he in the home run derby?
Yes. Cody is, yes. And so is Aaron Judge, which is the best news ever.
So just show me more of that. I don't know how rounds they go. I can't. But to me,
and his dad throwing to him. Throwing to him.
I'm recording this one.
Oh, I know.
Aaron Judge is
tremendous.
They're saying literally, talking about historic, that his swing is literally perfect. From a mechanical standpoint, that Aaron Judge, there's almost no error. It's like the guy, maybe in the day, because I always look at any sort of sport that needs that kind of tempo, the balance of strength, speed. It's like a guy who drives the ball, Dave. It's like a golfer off the tee that looks like he's not swinging hard. So Ernie Els is the one that always comes to mind to me. In his, before all the, the back and, all the injuries that happen to golfers. How someone can swing like that. And look, he's a bigger guy too. I get that. But how you can swing like that and the ball just sails because of the things that need to happen mechanically, he did them all. Well, that's Aaron Judge right now.
It's amazing. And he's so fun to watch.
He is fun to watch, and Bellinger is just, I'll tell you, get these teams into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, get that in there. Let me see the Dodgers get in there. you know, and look, Washington's going to be in there. Houston. This could be actually a pretty good Major League Baseball fall with the teams that are getting in. I'm looking at some of these teams, and look, did you enjoy Boston? I mean, if you're a Blue Jay fan, you didn't. 15-1, like they are just in another universe right now. And Pedroia, if you, of course, we were going to show the clip of his amazing. Normally when a guy has an errant throw from third base to first base, it's not supposed to be that exciting, unless you're Pedroia, who runs the hell way over to the first baseline, rolling around on the ground. I think he threw it while he was on his chest, and gets him back at first base. Like Pedroia, and then what did he go, 4 for 5, or what the hell he was? Mm-hmm. Boston right now looks like the real deal, and if the Yankees are going to catch them, and again, we're only at the halfway mark where we're with the All-Star break, but I just see the two seasons are slightly going differently. Where you had that great leap by a Yankees team that is going to be good for years,
yes.
But at this very moment, if I'm thinking, okay, there's going to be a playoff between Boston and the Yankees, I'm probably taking Boston right now.
It's tight, though. Yeah, you're right. I think both are playoff teams.
Yes,
so
definitely.
You actually might see some sort of matchup somewhere in October between Boston and the Yankees, and somewhere in Major League Baseball offices, they're licking their chops at the opportunity. And you're right.
You're gonna. I think I see a return to. We were talking on the weekend over the long weekend. I was talking to my dad. I said, "Well, look." The reality is, all those years that Blue Jay fans complained because they said, well, you don't know what it's like to be in the same division as Boston and New York. Well, you're going to hear more of that, Dave, because I think that's where we're going.
Absolutely. And when you look at the scanning of it, too, because Cleveland's kind of smartened up their act. They lead the division. Houston's already won the American League West for my money. You could say the same about Washington. The Dodgers are going to be part of the postseason. I still look at that National League Central and go, the Milwaukee Brewers are going to be leading this division by All-Star break. I think it's wicked awesome as far as, the underdog, the low-paying salary team that the Brewers are, and just everything that is Brewers, because I like them. I'm just surprised as hell that the Chicago Cubs aren't going to win that division, and I'll still be surprised if we're talking about the Cubs not winning a division in September, because I think it's their division to win. But Milwaukee's been a really nice story. Outside of that, you got a lot of the bigger name teams that are going to be there and supposed to be there, and it looks like it's really shaping up to be a pretty good race.
I think it's going to be a good fall, because if someone's saying, do you want to see the Red Sox? Yes.
Yeah.
Yankees.
Yep.
Cleveland Indians.
I thought they would win the American League with Houston.
Yeah.
So
want to see them. I think they're cool to watch. Houston Astros.
Great team to watch. Best second base shortstop duo in Major League Baseball.
But once you get into the secondary teams, I don't need to see the Royals. I don't need to see.
And they've actually been making a little bit of a push. They're the second best team in that Central right now, which is a little bit of a surprise considering how bad the start of the year was for them.
Yeah, I don't need to see the Royals. I don't need to see the Twins. If they're Angels, I don't.
Yeah, they're not going to be there anyway, so you don't have to worry about that.
I don't need to see that. So I'm kind of happy with what I'd see out of the American League. You're going to see the Nationals.
Yep.
You're also going to see, well, if it's either the Dodgers. Colorado Rockies have fallen off. I mean, they had that great start.
2-8 in the last 10 games. It's like goodbye.
It's starting to bleed.
Diamondbacks are playing pretty good ball too, though.
They played some pretty good ball, but guess what? Don't need to see them. What am I excited about? Watching Greinke pitch?
Jerseys in Major League Baseball.
I'm not. But the Dodgers, oh yeah, I want to see that. So I think there are some pretty good matchups as you go into the Central, where you think you'd want to see the Cubs, the Pirates, not their year. Cincinnati hasn't been a factor. But if the Cubs don't get it, wow, the Brewers in?
Yep.
Now, speaking of excitement, here in Toronto, celebrating the huge 150. By the way, what did you do? What did you do on the 150? I really didn't do too much. And we had the extra super long extra holiday weekend.
We extended it more than anybody else.
And still don't have the cameras. If you're watching going, why is the screen black? Oh, we're just trying a new thing. We're being very European in our artistic. We're saying we're against a lot of things today, so we've gone black screen. That's what we're doing. Dave actually went down because there was controversy over a giant yellow rubber ducky.
Yep.
That I think came from Holland.
Is that where it came from?
Yeah. I think it came from Holland or something.
Okay.
And they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is the government did here to bring it over, and everyone was mad. Everyone said, waste of money, waste of time, this is a horrible idea, and guess what happened?
Yeah, the thing that happened was you couldn't find parking. H2O Beach was jam-packed more than I've ever seen it in my life.
They loved it. It was a huge hit.
Honestly, anywhere you look on Twitter, type in the hashtag giant quack, duck, giant duck, something about the waterfront, and you will see this duck everywhere. They had live camera shots. There were 3 or 4 different camera crews that were there. We actually went on the Monday morning at about 9 o'clock, and by the time we got there, thousands on the beach watching this duck.
No, it was massive. It brought in so many people. So if you were betting against it being popular,
you were wrong.
You lost your bet.
And to tell you the honest truth, so Marissa loved it.
Yeah.
Because she just, she has a little duck in her swimming pool, and ducks, a family of ducks. So to see this monster duck the size of a skyscraper was pretty cool. But every single family had 2 or 3 kids just in awe of this duck. It was awesome. There were cops taking pictures and selfies with the crowd. There were people asking, like, I probably took at least 5 or 6 different shots of different families with their phones asking, can you get a shot of the duck? Can you take this picture, and we'll do the same for you, and so forth. And I it sounded stupid when they first thought of this idea, but you go down there.
It did sound stupid.
I'm
not doing that.
No, you go down there, and it's like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
I mean.
But I thought, that's not what I thought you were saying. I thought you said, Marissa's like, oh, rubber duck, amazing. And Nicole was going, yeah, I get it. Yeah, I get it. Marissa, come me. Let's go to the bar over there, okay? Because you know what? I'll go to the bar. I'll look at the duck from there. You sit here and drool over something that's giant and rubber. I don't care. Yeah.
It's funny you say that, because Nicole really wanted nothing to do with it, and I got the pictures to prove it, actually. So Marissa's a little bit of a poser, though, compared to Nicole. So that's where that fits in. Right?
Wow. The 150, and of course across the country, they're all different kinds of things.
A lot of fireworks out in your area.
There's some freaks.
Yeah, I was going to say
there's some people that they must have missed their upbringing in Beirut because there was bang 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 bang.
I was going to say
all weekend,
because in our area it's like, let's get the fireworks.
Yeah. It's the old. What is the last word of every redneck? Watch this, because it really started to get a little bit that way. I'm like,
seriously?
Guys, do you have a? What night was it? It was the Saturday night. On the Saturday night, and it was. But these were not the cheap ones.
No. And fireworks, by the way, if you haven't been to one of these fireworks stands that they set up in parking lots, they rip you off severely. So if you go in there and you want 5 minutes worth of fireworks, get ready to spend like $300 or $400.
Yeah, it's like to have the ones that go like the ones that we had as kids, the burning schoolhouse.
Yes.
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 Sparklers that were fun for the first 5 seconds. You're trying to spell your name, and if your name's long enough, it won't work. If you're the Greek freak, forget it. The sparkler's going to be out long before you.
Shoot.
Just put Johnny. Just put that down there, because you're not getting anything else. But you're right. But to have, because it's just so expensive.
It's so expensive. And we had one idiot behind us Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, Monday night.
Yeah.
Who was out yesterday lighting fireworks? That guy, Cletus. Cletus was out on Monday night too. 4 in a row. It's like, wow. Whatever. I do like fireworks, but I'm good with one day. Pick a day and do your fireworks. And I also can't take fireworks for a long period of time. Like, I like it, but give me like 7 or 8 minutes, and then I'm good. After that, I don't care.
If you go to the Epcot Center in Florida,
yes, been there.
They do this thing at night. Now it's crazy because they have the music, and the music. There's the choreography of the kinds of fireworks. It must cost like $1 million a night. Like, I don't know how they do it. And they used to do that at Ontario Place.
Okay.
And it was sponsored by, it was a cigarette company. Which one was it? I'm trying to think of which one it was. So of course, because of that's a bad thing now.
Sure. You're not allowed to take.
You can't. Don't say a cigarette ad. That's immediately going to have people looking at fireworks and going, "It's sponsored by who? Players." Smoking. What? Just don't was it Rothman's? No, that's the tennis one. Yeah, they're like, no, tennis, no smoking.
Yep.
Tennis. Oh yeah. By the way, If you're really interested in that loser sport,
We're not.
what happened today? Milos Raonic won
Did he?
over some guy.
Genie Bouchard's out already, eh?
Well, that was quick.
Ooh. Pack lightly, please.
Um,
I'm just saying. Did you already have a return flight booked?
Raonic beat some guy named Struff. He's German.
Oh, Struff.
Probably Johann or something. I don't know.
Struff.
So Johann Struff from Germany, hands up, lost to Milos Raonic. Djokovic has beaten some guy whose name I can't pronounce. Hey, I see that Joe Wilfred Songa, the giant,
Yes.
is going to be playing against an Italian Simone Bolelli. Yeah, I don't know. Look at the names on these people. Oh, I don't care. What a loser sport. I used to like it. Now I hate it.
No more.
Bunch of pretentious guys walk around with headbands. Oh, my God. Who do you cheer for? The answer is?
Nobody.
You are correct, sir.
Sorry, I jumped the gun. I got
Nope.
to press the buzzard first before I win this game show.
Best friends. Yep.
On a game show, that's completely
Do
acceptable.
karate in the garage. Yep. It's
It is time. Once again, apologies to what we've always been so happy about to actually show you the show. So we'll get that rectified for tomorrow because one of our good friends, we haven't had him on, well, for other reasons previously, is that no one from Rogers can go on, Christ, was that annoying. Well, James Sharman tomorrow in studio and on camera. And his Life of Pi.
Yes.
See how I turned that into a thing? Write that down, Russell. Tell the kids at Ryerson. Turn the phrase. Thanks for listening to us on iTunes. Remember, tomorrow, James Sharman, we're going to talk a little footy.